That was June 22nd. Let me reload the page. Nope, I don't see anything posted on the Facebook page.
Cool. Is it live? Oops, no likes that.
Check, check.
I can hear you!
Okay, yay. Gina, I can't hear you.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Contractor Weekly. My name is Armando Jaycox. I am a roofing company owner here in Denver, Colorado. That's where I'm at right now. I'm also an emerging content creator and emerging whatever you need type of guy. So on the Contractor Weekly, we discuss different topics in roofing. We discuss some roofing news, material prices. I have some featured guests today. We have Jack Hanks. He is a public adjuster doing large loss claims. Just launched his new company called Velocity Public Adjusting, which I'm really excited to talk to him about. We also have Logan Graff hopping on the call real soon, and we have Randy Brothers hopping on real soon here. All live, no filter, no nothing, no editing. So this is what's exciting about this show. I can't wait to share it all with you. And now we are going to cut to the intro. Okay, so first thing on the news, on the docket here, guys, is material prices. One thing we've been wanting to kind of keep up with OSB prices, and OSB seems to be holding strong. It's actually, at Home Depot at least, hasn't changed. It's still $84 a sheet, which every time I say that, I'm like, really? $84 a sheet for OSB? I can't stop thinking about when it was like, literally like $10, which wasn't that long ago. When it's like a year ago, it was kind of going back and forth between like $10 and $15. And now it seems to be going back and forth from like $70 to $90 a sheet. So, what does that mean for you? That means that when you create an estimate or a quote, you really have to make sure you keep some room for the pricing to change, especially when you're doing material quotes on like all jobs really where they're paying cash. My company is primarily a insurance restoration company. So, we don't worry that much about cash prices, and we can kind of explain to the insurance companies why the change in prices happen. And they've actually been pretty good to work with overall. So, but when it comes to a cash price, like once you give someone a cash price, you really can't change it. I mean, it's not cool to change it. So I'd really encourage you to kind of have some room in there, explain to your customer what's going on with materials, and get the job sooner rather than later. If you can even like lock in even just the OSB, get it shipped to the house, and like be ready to go, that would be ideal, So but that's the same with all materials. One thing I want to encourage you to is have a good relationship with your supplier right now, because, our suppliers at least have come through, big time when there's been like shortages. There seems to be shortages left and right. And I have been working hard on getting some supplier like VPs on the show here soon. So hopefully we can make that happen. Suppliers are a little touchy about coming on to live stream shows and a little touchy about getting on the internet in general, because they're like these huge multi-billion-dollar corporations, right? And so they have to be a little careful about that, which is totally understandable. So I'm kind of working with them to see if we can get some VPs on the show here real soon. So anyways, with that, we're going to kind of move on to the next kind of part, which one of my favorite parts of the show, which is a friend of mine, a colleague. His name is Logan Graff. He is doing this thing called Logans Slogans. It's a hashtag, and I mean, he does it purely out of the goodness of his heart. And so it's like these branded slogans that he does once a week, I think multiple, sometimes twice a week. We'll ask him. He's going to come on right now. And I want him to expand on Logan's slogan for today, which I'm going to pull up right here. Turn your wounds into wisdom. Let's see if we can get Logan on the call right now. Let me know when he's up, guys. Logan, can you hear me yet? Let's see here, Logan.
I'm on now. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Cool. All right. So Logan, how are you? Can you hear me?
I'm great, man. Thanks. Had to move around outside of the office today.
What do you got going on today?
You got a good connection now? You can hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. It sounds like we got a little bit of a lag, but that is okay. We'll just kind of make it work. What are you up to today, Logan? What do you got on the docket?
Today we have about 7 different jobs going on here in DFW. I'm visiting a few of those this morning, doing some shop work. We got a new forklift, so we're getting orientation on that. Just another typical day in roofing paradise, my man.
I saw you guys are getting ready for hurricane season, looks like.
Yes, indeed. Preparation, staying prepared with all of that, getting all of our materials and fleet and team members ready. We're ready to help some folks for sure.
That's awesome, Logan. So, hey, I was just telling them about, what you do. You're a partner over at Crest Exteriors. You're also you started this pretty much out of the kindness of your heart, right? It's Logans Slogans. Are they weekly slogans that you put up? Or are you doing daily slogans?
I try to post something every single day that's in a positive arena to motivate and inspire some folks. But I do a few custom ones specifically for this show and for a couple of other. So I just say it's. You still with me?
Yep. Yeah, I heard you. I think you were on Joseph Hughes' show, but let's tag Logan in the comments. Let's tag Joseph Hughes as well, Gina. But yeah, you were on Joseph Hughes' show recently as well, right?
Yes, indeed. We did a podcast about partnerships and business and just some of the basics in the roofing game.
That's
awesome.
It
was a pretty good podcast.
Yeah, that's really cool. So today's slogans: turn your wounds into wisdom. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Certainly. Everybody goes through trials and tribulations in their life, and there's that old saying that you learn as you go. A lot of times people will, fall on their face or make some really large mistakes that can be catastrophic, whether that's in your life, with your personal life, or even in your business life, and those create wounds, scars, those create memories. My goal with this slogan is for people to take those learning experiences and create wisdom so you don't make those mistakes again. So if you've been wounded or you've been scarred or you've been hurt by bad decisions or somebody doing you wrong, it's still okay. Everything's going to be okay. Turn that into wisdom, turn it into knowledge so that you can prevent those mistakes from happening again. Turn your wounds into wisdom and you'll continue to prosper. That's the slogan for the week.
I love that, man. I love that. Gosh, it brings up a really a story of my first sales manager, the guy who trained me to get into this business. And he told me, I was struggling, right? I was knocking on doors, struggling. He's like, hey, look, it's okay if you have a bad day knocking on doors. I had 0 leads type thing. And it was just it was hard. I was thinking about quitting already, He's like, hey, it's okay if you have a bad day. It's just tomorrow's a new day, And I was like, absolutely. He's like, hey, you know what? I was like, what? He's like, it's okay if you have a bad week on top of that. This actually chokes me up a little bit because he's like, it's okay if you have a bad week as well. He's like, because there's always a next week. I was like, okay, absolutely, absolutely. And he's like, hey, you know what though? It's okay if you have a bad month. You have a bad month, there's always a next month, And I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, oh, I got you. He's like, you know what though, Armando, you can take it pretty far. It's okay if you have a bad year. You have a bad year, it's okay. You can have a good year the next year. And, it's also okay if you have a bad decade. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? A bad decade? And he's like, yeah, it's a bad decade. And I didn't know this about him. He's like, I went to jail for 7 years. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I went to jail for prison for 7 years, man. And I got out of prison and I started started selling meat, knocking on doors, selling meat. That's kind of a big thing.
The meat man.
He's a meat man, yeah. And then he's like, and I knocked on the guy's door and he said, hey, you should sell roofing, man. I can help you make more money roofing. And he's like, let's do it. And he jumped in, and by the 10th year, he went to prison for 7 years. By the 10th year, he made more money in that short time in roofing than he'd made the previous 10 years doing anything else.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things where he really did turn his wounds into wisdom and turn his life around within that decade,
For sure. That's a good story, man. I like hearing those success stories. We all have a choice every single day. if we're going to let the past affect us negatively or let it affect us positively. That's why I chose that slogan. Let's turn those wounds into wisdom and make some things happen, Captain.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. Well, hey, if you can stay tuned on the show, Logan, we're gonna have Jack Hanks. Do you know Jack?
Yeah, he's my homie. I love Jack Hanks. He's the man.
Nice. So Jack is ready to make a big announcement right now, dude. So on the show live, so we're gonna kind of get into that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you go. I'm gonna bring Jack in, and we will talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Okay. Have a great day. See you. Bye.
All right. See ya.
That was Logan Graff Guy. I think we're going to cut to a quick break. Should we cut to a quick break here with either get the referral, or if we can get the referral, would be great. All right, guys, we're going to cut to a quick break, and then we're going to bring in Jack Hanks with Velocity Public Adjusting.
Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. Have a refuse to be a soldier. Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. Have a refuse to be a soldier.
Okay, guys, we are back now, and today we have Jack Hanks with Velocity Public Adjusting. Jack, can you hear me?
I can, man. How are you?
I'm great, Jack. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. Thank you.
Good. Give me just 1 second here. Jack, are we ready to talk about what we've been talking about?
We are ready to talk about what we've been talking about behind the scenes. Yes, sir.
We've been talking a little bit about the behind the scenes, and we are now ready to make a big announcement. You are ready to make a big announcement here live on the show, which I'm really excited about. And we're going to share as much as possible. We've been getting quite a few shares and quite a few views on this show. More than I even expected, somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 a week. So and it keeps growing. So I'm really excited about
you,
that.
Man.
Yeah, it's been really good. I think part of it is just because the great guests, guys like you, and today we have Randy Brothers coming on the line. I think London should be jumping on as well. So anyways, Jack, let's talk about you. You came on my podcast, got to know you a little bit. One thing I want to get clear: where do you live exactly?
I have two places. I live in Del Mar, California, and we also have a home in Scottsdale, Arizona. So I kind of bounce back and forth depending on the triple digits of beautiful Scottsdale. So.
Okay, so the house in your place in Del Mar, is that mostly for the weather, or is it more? Do you split your time like 6 months here, 6 months there type thing?
No, it goes by days actually. I mean, I usually spend Thursday through Monday in Del Mar, depending on what I have going on business wise. Tuesday through Thursday in Scottsdale unless I'm on the road. But usually the weekends are in California just because the weather, and it's, we have a beautiful home on the beach, and it's just very calming for, we're busting our tails. So to have that nice view of the waves or hear the waves crashing and a nice view over the sunset every night kind of calms my nerves down when I'm fighting these insurance companies all day. So
yeah, I hear you.
I'm not complaining at all, believe me.
Speaking of nerves, you have you yourself have some nerve, right? Because you made enough. On my podcast we talked about the changes like 20 years ago when you went from like being a national general contractor to the public adjusting. You made that transition successfully, which is very challenging to do, and now you're in the process of another transition. Is that right?
Yeah, recently we started our own firm. I put together a group of investors, just a bunch of great people involved, a bunch of good adjusters, and we started our own firm called Velocity Public Adjusting. We started about a month ago. Things are skyrocketing. The response has been absolutely unbelievable. The clientele, the people involved on both sides have been amazing. I'm very grateful, thankful, humbled. All that. It's just been a crazy, exciting experience. I couldn't be happier. And my relationship with the Skiptons is still wonderful. They're great people. I was there for a long time. We're great friends. We're still working together, doing our trainings and stuff. So it's been a great partnership for all of us, basically. So I
Wow.
couldn't be more excited, man.
Wow, man. And the fact that you've been able to keep the bridge sort of there
Yeah.
with your previous company, that is remarkable as well. That doesn't happen very often. Usually it's some pretty intense turmoil, right?
Well, I mean, we've known, I've known David 20 years before I started working there. So we've had that personal relationship for a long time. And at the end of the day, I've been an entrepreneur I'm a type A Gemini only child. So at the end of the day, I'm an entrepreneur and always want to kind of do my own thing. I think everyone kind of knew that, but I've got a great relationship over there. I continue to do so. And I still talk to those guys every day because we still have claims in the kitty over there we're working on. So that's going to go on for quite a long time. Dave and I have a training in Tampa coming up the end of August. We're doing it together. So there's like zero animosity, phenomenal people. If when you deal with good people on a daily basis in your life, your life is a much simpler process to get through. It's enjoyable to wake up every day, to be honest with you. So
I have to say, with contractors, roofers especially, I feel they're somewhat combative, like as an industry. Especially you see it on Facebook all the time. Contractors kind of fighting with each other. Public adjusters are a little different. I feel like they've, and I'm not sure why that is, but they get along really well, right? Like I'm hearing you get along with your previous company. I know Matt Behrens with C3 gets along with everybody. TJ's always hanging out,
Matt's a great friend. So here's the cool part. The last couple of years, this industry and the roofing industry as well has changed dramatically. I literally talked to Matt Mahalan, Matt Behrens, Frank Dalton, Dave Skipton. I've trained 120 other PAs the last year. So there's very few of us. So the cool part is we're all starting to gather together and surround ourselves with quality people, because if somebody I know wins a big case in Ohio and it can help my company, that's helping all of us because at the end of the day, we're here to help the insurers, right? So it's cool because I sent my 3 of my employees to Steve Patrick's training last week in San Antonio. I'm sending 2 more of my guys to Matt Mahalan and Matt Behrens training in New Smyrna Beach next month. So we're all starting to. It's just a cool community we have as a group, and these guys are. I mean, Stephanie Lee in Oklahoma is a great person. I mean, there's just a long list of great people that we're all on the same page. We don't really compete because there's so much work for all of us. And once again, the better I do, the better they do, and the better they do, the better I do. So it's just a great community of people we have involved. I think that's changed the last 10 or 15 years. Back early in the day, a little bit of fisticuffs and backstabbing and stuff, that doesn't happen anymore. Thank God. We've kind of grown as a business and grow as people. So there's not that stuff anymore. I mean, Matt Behrens I call him we talk about our families and we don't really talk about work. He's just a good guy, and there's a lot of good people in this business. And that's what's important, because we all rely on each other. We all learn from each other too, which is key, because, we're a small little speck on these insurance companies' radar. So the stronger we are together, man, that's the idea, right?
Well, you've been doing it for quite some time, right? And so, like, what was it like before the previous 5 years? That you said it was a little more like combative, similar to what the roofing was, or a little different.
The older PAs, it's just back in the day, so PAs we're all very much type A because we have to be, because that's what we do for a living. We're very probably more aggressive in nature. So to have your competitor in the same room with you, there's always kind of a chest puffing thing going on there in the past. And I can honestly say the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, it's just become different. I see it in our world, the roofing community as well. I think, things like SVG with Anthony Medico and April Hall's events, the SRC summits and the roof cons and all these events we all go to, the attorneys all go, the roofers all go, all the PAs go, all the vendors, we become much more of a whole. And I think that's great for the whole industry. I mean,
Yeah.
all the attorneys that I know, all are great guys, and they all talk, they all work with each other. Once again, there's so much work for all of us. We're not really competitors any longer. We're all fighting for the same common goal, which is a neat thing. So it's a lot different. I think, it's all about culture, right? I mean, the culture of the business is changing for all of us. And I think it's been a great thing for everyone involved. And I think it's going to keep going that way. I mean, the younger generation coming up they're seeing that it works. They're seeing that we can all get along and do the right thing and exchange ideas and train each other, man. I mean, we all have strengths and different weaknesses, and we all realize what those are for each other. And we all, we're here to help. It's really cool. I mean, I just talked to a PA today out of Missouri. We're going to do some appraisals for, and we were throwing ideas back and forth on what the best situation for the insured is, because that's what, at the end of the day, it's really all about, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome that the insureds this is happening, really, because the insureds are starting to have more resources to, to get indemnified, and it's just, before it was really, I mean, even I've been doing it for 10 years, and so, I mean, there really wasn't any public adjusting going on my first 5 years in business, it wasn't till I met, the people I work with now. And the main reason I work with them is because they work on small claims. I mean, how hard it is to work on any of these claims, but like small claims, like if they're $20,000 or less, I mean, it's tough to find a public adjuster who can help out a homeowner in that situation, And so, one thing though that happened recently is I talked to London Krauts about small claims. That's kind of part where my heart is in the small claims, because I feel like that is sort of like a segment of the market that is just completely left behind in terms of public adjusting and like legal representation. Would you agree with me or disagree?
Well, 100%. And so that's the crappy part to this. The insurance companies know that, right? So if you think about it, if there's 100 claims that come in a day to an insurance company, 96 of those are $25,000 and less, right? Only 3 or 4 of those are the what we call large losses, $250,000, $500,000, $1 million. Those are the ones that get all their attention. So if they can shoo away 95% of their claims by undermining them and underpaying them, it's a business model for them. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, we all know that a $20,000 claim, by the time I would take my fee, the attorney gets involved, blah, 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 and then there's $6,000 left for the roof. Even if we do win, we're not really doing anything for that consumer. So it's actually putting them in a worse precarious position. So the insurance companies know that, and they use that to their advantage, because our fee comes out of the claim check. In a lot of states, the attorney fee comes out of the claim check. Yeah. States like Florida, they have statutes where the attorney fees are awarded, but most of the time they're not. So London and Phil Sanoff and John Wood and these guys, they can't litigate these claims, because there's just not enough money involved to run their businesses and to keep the insured whole. So it's a total catch-22. It's a huge hole in our industry. We take our fair share of residential claims just to try to help out a little bit. But at the end of the day, we're maybe breaking even.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I kind of use it for a training ground for our newer guys, just to kind of learn the systems and stuff. And, I agree with you, man. It's a huge hole in this industry. And I think it's getting... I think we're all trying to help fill that void a little bit, but it's 95% of the claims are 20 grand and below. I mean, that's the fact. So, and they use that because there's no risk, right? Even if they lose, the insurance company, instead of writing a check for 20, they're writing a check for 40. They could, that's pennies, right?
Yeah, that's a huge win right there. Yeah. So, I mean, I think, let's see, do we have London on the call yet? Is he, did we get a Zoom call? Is he on? We have Randy on. Is London should be on the waiting room. Can we send him a link? Do you have? We did. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I just texted him. Yeah, because
probably working out.
He was on the podcast recently, and I didn't realize that he's he went to like military school. Did you know that? He went to like a super intense military school.
So I recently got to know London fairly well. We've had lunches and a few dinners and stuff. And he is one of the smartest, badass dudes I've ever met. Not as an attorney, but as a person. He is so smart and just he's just he's the cool part about our industry. There's a lot of really good people in it, and he's one of them. And I'm proud to call him a friend, and we work together quite a bit. So he's a really good dude.
Yeah, I had seen him around at conferences. He's always he goes to conferences. Daily in Black is always at conferences and stuff. And I had never really like gotten to know him. I didn't realize he's in Denver, and so I reached out and I was like, hey man, let's jump on the podcast. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So he came in and we got to know each other, and he told me his story, and we should have it posted here, fairly soon. But yeah, he was in the military, and yeah, very smart guy. He's a partner over at Daily in Black as well. He like earned a partnership in like 2 years, which is like kind of unheard of in that business, So yeah, well, let's see. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to. Is he going to be? I was going to be on or not? Not yet. Is London in the waiting room? Okay, so yeah, he might have gotten into something. It's tough. This is the live stream. He kind of did mention that he's going to be in and out and stuff, but let's see if he jumps on a little bit. For right now, Jack, I think we're gonna kind of let's keep you on. Let's get Randy Brothers in. And yeah, if you could like hang out on the line, if you have,
sure, I'm good.
Yeah, cool. Let's get Randy. Randy, can you hear me? Randy, can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's happening?
Good. Not much. How are you?
I'm doing well, man.
Cool. Thanks for coming on the show. We are live, by the way.
What's up, everybody? What's up, Facebook? How you doing, Jack?
Hey, man. How are you?
Good, man. I recognize you. I know you from Facebook, but I don't know if we've ever had I've had the pleasure of actually connecting with you, man.
I appreciate that. Same here, man.
This is part of the show that I really love. I mean, I didn't know that you guys hadn't connected yet. And so, Jack, meet Randy live on the show. And I think, both of you guys, Randy, like how relationships, let's just talk about that like for a minute, because relationships have been kind of the one of the pillars of the success in your business, right? And not only elite but Roofing Academy. Can you expand a little bit, Randy, about relationships and the importance of them in roofing and in consulting?
I think it's everything, really. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're business, sales, consulting, whatever it is, all about relationships. I think, probably the number one skill that you need to have if you're going to be successful at anything you do in life is being relational. Don't be a dick, don't be a jerk, like just be a good person and connect with people, find connections. And I think a little bit of advice on that piece is don't approach a relationship from a perspective of what you can get out of the relationship. Approach every relationship with the perspective of what you can contribute to that relationship, what you can give to that relationship, and how you can help support someone else, and you'll build long lasting relationships. I remember some of the people that I connected with 18 years ago when I first got into business and construction. To this day, I stay, connected, and I could call some of my original mentors up, and they'd be, hey, how you doing? What can we do to help you? Like, that's the importance, because you never know what's going to come around and how those relationships will come back around and help support you in your life, down the road, so never burn a bridge, and pour into others and serve others. And those relationships are super powerful.
That thing that you said, as far as like going into a relationship, how, thinking in terms of focusing on what you can bring into it rather than what you get out of it. I feel like that's probably, extremely wise, and it can be a little challenging, right? I know my own perspective, like, when I meet people, I think just as human beings, we think of our own self-interest for first and foremost in general. And it takes some training and some practice to kind of like forget what your own self-interest is and really focus on theirs. Would you agree? Like, it's natural to think of your own self-interest in terms of relationship, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's human nature, right? We're always, we're instinctually bred to always look out for number one first, and look out for ourselves, and approach things from a self-fulfilling perspective and our self-interest. So we have to kind of condition ourselves and train ourselves to reverse that mindset and reverse that thinking. And I promise you, it definitely, it's not easy, and it doesn't come naturally. You've got to constantly work on it. It doesn't mean, hey, don't do things and take care of yourself and don't make sure you're, putting, things away and taking care of yourself and your family and those sort of things. That I'm not saying that, but if the mindset is to serve others and help others, takes the pressure off, and it helps you become a genuine good person that can build longer lasting relationships that don't mess things up for you.
I mean, Jack is really has some mastery around relationships, right? I mean, that's kind of when I first met you, Jack. I mean, you, the first thing that happened there was I got referred to you, really just to go to dinner. You were buying like everybody in this restaurant dinner. And when you met, it wasn't like, oh yeah, hey, I'm Jack. You got any claims? Send them to me. It was very like, just getting to know me, and you were buying. It was like, I think it was in Dallas. Do you remember that, Jack?
Yeah, we that's the idea. I mean, I never asked for claims, right? Developing relationships are the key, because shit's going to go south, right? Sometimes, and you got to be able to trust people you're working with, to always have your back and do the right thing, because that's what it's all about, man. Claims come and go. At the end of the day, relationships is the only thing that carries the boat, man, because it's harder to keep one and to start one up. I'll tell you that. So it's very meaningful that we have a group of people around us I can rely on 24/7 to have my back, have questions answered. When I'm having a bad day, somebody can send me a stupid text to cheer me up or whatever. It's part of it, man. It's the key to what we do in any, like Randy said, in everything, and not just business, but personally, and my children and everything, man. It's a thing. So, and it's a lot of work, because at the end of the day, we're all about self-preservation, right? What's best for me, and then the minute you can realize that if you start serving others and always try to do the right thing, even when it's to your detriment, as long as it's the right thing, shit usually works out. And it's a hard lesson to learn, man. It took me, I'm still learning, I'm 55 years old. It took me up until 5-6 years ago to kind of have that different mindset. And once I changed that, man, my food tastes better, my relationships are better, I sleep better, water is better. I mean, everything is just better, and just your life is much easier when you always. I mean, I don't always do the right thing. I mean, right? We all shit happens, but if you just strive to be the good person all the time, usually shit works out, man. Right? I mean,
100%.
Yeah. I mean, the making the right decision to your detriment that's where, like, separates, the men from the boys, I feel like, because that's hard. That's really hard to do, right? Especially if like the detriment is like something really intense, something really serious.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, go ahead.
Well, it's hard because you're a parent, you're a business owner, you have relationships personally, and sometimes all those things don't align properly. So it's tough, man. There's a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of tossing and turning and but it's that little thing inside of you, like, ah, shit, I know what I need to do. And the hardest decisions are always, or easy ones are no brainer. The tough ones are always the right. There's a saying that the tough decisions are usually the right decision, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's all true, man. We all know that. So it's just a matter of realizing it and doing it and being okay with it and letting the chips fall where they may, because if you're doing the right thing, it's all going to be okay.
I mean, we both kind of talked a little bit about like competitors in the industry, right? And like Randy, I was telling Jack how, like, 5 years ago, I mean, even now, man, roofers can be very kind of like combative with each other, and there's like some some conflict there. They're all kind of known to like kind of fight with each other for to some extent. But like, I think one thing that you've done to really help the industry in general is like being a roofer yourself, getting into consulting. I mean, you consult with companies in the Denver area, which are your competitors, right? But you you've been able to, can you give us some insight into your philosophy on that?
Well, it's fun. I love that you mentioned that, because I've actually kind of just been fine tuning some of our our core values with our consulting company, and one of those is collaboration. A huge part of my own growth and some of the success we've had with our business is I learned early on that if you want to be successful in anything, especially in business, you have to go and find people who are successful. Like, surround yourself with people that have achieved what you want to achieve. And And that's been a catalyst for my career. So I've always just, sought out successful roofers, successful entrepreneurs ever since I was a kid. And now that, we've gotten to this place where we're kind of reciprocating that and really mentoring and coaching and serving other, young entrepreneurs in a space. I feel like it's part of my purpose and obligation to be able to give back and repay that favor, even if it is a competitor. I mean, the reality of it is, if you're worried about competitors, you got it all wrong.
Mhm.
You're in a worse place than you think, because at the end of the day, I'm only competing against myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I can maintain a focus on just being better today than I was yesterday, and having a better company today than I had yesterday, the competition doesn't really matter.
I don't know if you heard the story in the NBA playoffs years ago. There's a story where Michael Jordan went to Kobe Bryant and literally told him their strategy for that game. And Michael Jordan said, "I'm doing this on purpose. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to be doing, because you can't stop me. And I'm going to prove it by telling you." He told him the whole playbook, and went out and still beat. They won the game. And the moral of the story there is, if it doesn't matter what your competitor is doing, you can even tell them what your strategy is. And if you kind of are that confident that you're going to win, you will win either way. Yeah.
Well, if you look at it from a big picture perspective, I mean, I could work with a decent amount of contractors, and I don't intentionally take a whole bunch more local. I have a handful of local contractors that I do work with, but the reality of it is we never cross paths. I mean, this is a big market. There's over 5,000 registered roofers in our market,
Sure. Yeah.
So if I work with a couple dozen or whatever, we don't even cross paths. And the way I look at it is if I can have a small impact that, 1 to 5% of the market, and we impact, and all those contractors are doing things the right way, and treating customers right, and treating our market right, honestly, it kind of makes it a little more, ideally, it makes the out of town competitors think twice about coming to our market, because we have such strong, collaboration within our market. It makes it that much more challenging for, other people to come in. So
we really do, man.
We all connect to each other. You're a local contractor. I'm working with you for years now, and we support each other, and we want to try to make this, our market, one of the strongest markets in the entire country. And I believe the only way to do that is collaborate.
Yeah, we do have a strong market. I mean, and the brands that you've worked with, companies you've worked with, have some really strong brands too. So, but hey, guys, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit, because we have London on the call now, and we've got him for just a short period of time. London, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay, awesome. Can you hear? Yeah, can you hear Jack, and can you hear Randy?
Yeah. Hey, Randy, Jack.
What's up, man?
Okay.
Awesome. So I know Jack and London know each other. London, do you know Randy?
I know of Randy. Heard a lot of great things.
Okay.
He's been instrumental part of the industry for a lot longer than he looks.
Randy,
I'm an old soul, brother. I'm an old soul.
Yeah. So Randy, meet London. London, meet Randy. This is really cool for me, guys. It make introductions virtually on the show.
Such a dating game.
It is the roofer dating game.
Right.
It is.
Contractor dating game.
It
Change the
is,
title.
man. And so Randy, do you work with attorneys occasionally on claims and stuff, or is that really, you mostly work with public adjusters?
It depends on the situation. So, it depends on the situation. I've done all the above. We kind of bounce between attorneys, PAs, and appraisals, right? It depends on the situation, the carrier, and what we're up against.
Yeah.
Sometimes use all three.
Sometimes all three.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was talking to Jack about small claims, and I know we all know you work on large claims as well, but something that I really love, my heart is with small claims, man, because they're the ones that, there's almost they're the ones that, this insurance companies know that they really have no resources, and they, because just financially, it doesn't make sense for an adjuster to work on it, and even an attorney sometimes. But your company, Daily in Black, has kind of, will still work on small claims, and about how, how to make it work in terms of, the fees that get paid. Can you expand a little on small claims and how, that, Daily in Black will still work on them?
Sure. So really what we do at Daily in Black is we are experts at assessing extra contractual damages and the potential to make those while collecting the amounts that the client needs, or the insured needs. That is what they should have been paid out of the policy. right? And on smaller claims, the issue is a lot of attorneys charge a contingent fee on smaller claims. And therefore they can't do grandmother's 20 square, roof. It's not possible. If they're taking a percentage of $15,000, that's not going to work. We have a flat fee schedule that is a graduating pay schedule, but it's guaranteed to make the client or the insured whole. And then our fees are graduated on top of that. But because the carriers are responsible for paying our fees in Texas, in Colorado, and Louisiana, and other states that we practice, that's compensated for in the settlement, and we have to account for that. It's not a separate fee, but we have to, basically, we're only as good as our facts, right? So the facts are clearly the carrier unreasonably denied payment when presented with all the information. And of course, the reasonableness of their conduct is determined by the information that was presented to them at the time they made the decision. So good people like Jack, Randy, present that information up front, and the burden then shifts to the carrier. If they blow that burden, that's where we step in. That's where we can, and it doesn't matter what size the case is. If you look, we tried a residential case on a cosmetic damage exclusion down in San Antonio 2 years ago. It's a $75,000 residential roof, and that verdict was $1.5 million. Now,
wow.
That's extra contractual damages. If you look, we just had a 113.45, called $114 million verdict 2 Fridays ago on $1 million life insurance policy. These are verdicts, not settlements.
Hey guys, did you guys hear about that? Jack and Randy, did you guys hear about that settlement? It was a life insurance policy for $500,000. They got it up to $113 million. Did you guys hear about that?
Wow. No, I didn't.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I think one thing, London, it feels like the premise of Daily in Black, though, is what kind of drives these sort of like behaviors that you guys are doing, or these strategies that you're doing, really, because there's like this bottom underlying principle there of like doing what is right, like justice. So that's sort of like, sort of the classic reason why law firms exist, which is like to, I've been watching some of your podcasts as well. I think it's called The Brainstorm. Is that what it's called? Or
Yeah, The Brainstorm.
The Brainstorm. Yeah. And I saw, I think it was not Rick Daly, John Black.
Black.
Yeah, I saw John Black, and he was kind of talking about how the basis of the company, of the firm, is to provide justice, and it's not just about the money. It's about like doing what's right. And if it's a case that you really don't feel like it was, you're bringing justice, then it's not a case you may not even want to work on, and he's kind of talking about, he's like gotten to an age where that's what he wants to do, is work on cases where he's really like bringing justice and those ideals, right? That's kind of what Daily in Black is like, those ideals are the bedrock of the company.
That's right. That's why we're willing to take smaller cases, and we're not shy on that, because when there is injustice, there's the opportunity for us to come in and we can represent anybody. It doesn't matter the size of their case. We did an auto case out of Hurricane Harvey. That verdict was $800,000 on an $8,000 auto case. That was a record in Texas. That's why they'll settle with us for greater than the amount that the client is owed. Now, that's only a law where we practice. So we can take a case anywhere. We can take a case residential, commercial, Texas, Colorado, Louisiana, Florida, all over the Southeast. But attorney's fees have to be compensable, right? Illinois, for example, that's tough. But there are cases there that, they deserve our attention, and we still take them because there is injustice there. So, I know, so people like Jack and Randy, they're at the behest of that, right? You guys are the tip of the spear, and really a lot of times the gatekeepers on what is bad faith. Are they crossing the line? How do we take the next step? What is the next proper step to take? And I think that's what's really interesting in this industry, because that's a 3D moving chessboard. It's an ever evolving beast on how to handle what is the next proper step in the claim, because they're putting different exclusions in these policies all the time. They're figuring out a way to say hide the ball or prevent us from, the objective, which is providing justice to these insureds. And it's because they cheat people.
Yeah.
They don't do it all the time, but when they do, we rely on good referral sources and people that know when they've crossed the line, when the line's been drawn in the sand, and what the next proper step is to take. But that is, that's what the industry is all about, right? Is sharing the information so that we know when carriers crossing the line and we know what to do next.
Well, I find it pretty exciting. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure Randy does too. Randy, you really, London is an amazing resource. I feel like because of the small claims. I know there's large claims that your company can work on. Mine, a lot of it is the small stuff. For example, there's a woman we're working with now who, doesn't speak English. She is not very technical. Has no email on top of that, and it's kind of struggling because they're only paying for a couple walls of siding. She needs all the siding replaced, and so stuff like that. You can't really, most public adjusters and attorneys can't really take that. But now with London as a resource, it could be somewhat of a game changer. Randy, what do you think? Have you kind of experienced that as a contractor too, where small claims there's not very many resources besides the contractor?
Yeah, it's awesome that you guys are doing that. I think it goes back to kind of purpose and doing things for the right reasons and not just being solely focused on what I can gain, what kind of monetary gain I can have as a company or as a firm, right? So I think that's a great benefit to a lot of contractors who are pretty inclined to just kind of give up, right? Because they don't feel like they have the resources. It's a small claim, we'll just settle it, whatever, and take their loss and move on to the next one. And that, as London stated, that's injustice in my mind. The big bad companies are bullying the little guys around, and it's frustrating because we don't have a whole lot of options.
Yeah. Randy, and also Jack, one thing that London and I talked about too was I kind of found it quite fascinating was the whole length of time thing, right, London? So you actually want to look at files that are already completed, but the payment was took an excessive amount of time, right? And so there is some can you expand on that? I'm not even entirely clear on it.
Sure. So there's a cause of action for bad faith where it provides treble or statutory damages if and when they unreasonably delay payments. So typically bad faith is looked at if they've unreasonably denied or underpaid a claim. But Colorado, for example, Wyoming, for example, have added causes of action for delay where the same amount, treble damages, could be awarded for any amounts that a jury or a court would decide have been unreasonably delayed, notwithstanding the fact that they've been paid. And we have successfully taken and settled unreasonable delay cases. The first one I had was, talking about 7 figures for 7 months. It was a recoverable depreciation due to a contractor who had turned in a certificate of completion to the job and just was unpaid the 7-figure depreciation check, which guarantee you was majority of his profit for 7 months. Wow. Now they paid it. Absolutely, they did. But that's the kind of conduct that can break a company, in my opinion. It could be their very first commercial job, and they can't afford to sit around for 7 months and keep up payroll while they're waiting on their profit for that one job that, is going to make or break their year. Obviously, they're different contractors on different levels, but that's the kind of, or even 6 figures for 8 months to a residential homeowner. And that's ridiculous. That, when they're displaced from their home, they're relying on ALE. They're looking at it running out in the next 4 months. That's extremely stressful. And so certain states provide damages for that kind of conduct, despite the fact that the carrier is paid. And so we've seen that happen a lot where they're unreasonable. Someone like Jack has just been hammering them. Someone like Randy has set up a file, properly and presented it to them. And they just don't pay. But then they call the dogs in, right? They call Daly and Black. They call an attorney to represent the assured, and then they want to pay 100% of what they owe. I'm sorry, but it doesn't absolve you of liability for bad faith. And,
Randy,
and
have you heard of that approach? Have you heard about that yet? I hadn't heard about it before I talked to London on the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Colorado is one of the states that you can go for unreasonable delay with these sort of claims. So yeah, I've actually have dealt with that a little bit in the past for sure over the last couple of years.
Nice. Jack, have you been dealing with that at all? Is that something that is valuable to you as well, as bringing in an attorney just for the unreasonable delay?
Well, yeah, there's a point, right? We all need to play within the rules and the state statutes. So, and we know that the insurance company wants to play on that slippery slope. So yeah, we keep in our claim file, we have dates. The minute we open a claim file up, we have all these dates predetermined in our system. So we know when the stuff's coming up. When it gets close, I call London or some of my other attorneys to kind of get them on notice, like this is coming down the pipe here. And then, it's a we're all kind of watchdogs for the insured, right? And we have to be diligent on that. And all we're asking the insurance company to do is their job and abide by the contract that they signed with their insured. That's all we're asking. That's all of us. That's all we're asking them to do, is to abide by their contract that they created, that their insured compensated them for, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's all we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's crazy. I'm still very kind of brainwashed, I guess, by the marketing of the insurance company. That it's hard for me to believe that they won't just stand behind the contract,
Well, no, so the marketing is, so insurance companies back in the day, they were there to pay claims, right? That's their job. Now, you just hit the nail on the head. Insurance companies, all they are, they're marketing firms. That's all they are. They bring in premiums. Aaron Rodgers, Chris Paul, like all these guys on TV. That's all you see, right? They're a marketing firm to bring in money and then limit the payout. That's their job.
Yeah.
They're there to take care of their shareholders, not the policyholders. We all know that, and it's just hard to convince Mr. Smith when his roof is blown off from a hurricane, or Mrs. Jones when she has 186 tile blown off, that she's going to get screwed, and 9 times out of 10 they do, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's an uphill battle for all of us, but thank God this industry, like we just talked about, we're getting strong, man. We're all working together, dude. It's a thing. It's getting a lot better.
It is getting better. It's getting better. Yeah. Especially with, the guys like you here. So, okay, guys, I think we're going to kind of start wrapping it up here. I really appreciate you all coming on to the show and being a part of it. We're, really just appreciate it and really grateful for you guys. So, Randy, thank you. London, Jack, thank you. And guys, I'm just really excited, especially for Jack. I mean, he just kind of launched his Velocity Public Adjusting firm. So
interesting tidbit about that. London was the first call I got about 2.5 weeks ago when he caught wind. So it was pretty cool, man. I can't, London, you're a great dude, and the relationships I've created in this business are phenomenal, and it's very exciting. So thanks for all that, man.
Absolutely, man.
Just trying to ride your wake, Jack. You're the man.
Yeah,
do it,
he
buddy.
is. Well, I mean, you too, London. I mean, coming, 2 years becoming partner, and like this kind of innovative kind of approaches you guys are doing to really help homeowners, and doing it out of a approach of justice and those ideals that are, it seems like what a lot of lawyers, it seems like, it's kind of been missed in the industry to a certain extent, and so you sort of like you and Daily in Black bringing that up is pretty awesome. So, and then, Randy bringing systems and bringing, systems and processes, and bringing, more sort of like, a little more like professionalism to the roofing industry, with the Roofing Academy is like what really is elevating things as well. So, so thanks again, guys.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Great seeing you. We'll have to connect again for sure.
Take care.
I'll let you guys go. All right.
See you guys.
Yep.
Later.
We are going to cut to a break here, and we will be right back.
Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. Have a
And we're back, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of the show. We really appreciate, our audience. And I want to just kind of close it out with, I'd like to do sort of the final thought. I've been influenced over the years by Jerry Springer. And he always used to do this really funny, like, final thought. Or not funny, it's actually kind of a really serious. So his whole show would be just, people kind of going crazy and fighting and all that stuff. And then at the very end, this really serious final thought. And so I was sort of inspired by that over the years, and inspired by the talk show format in general. And so sort of one of my dreams was to always have a talk show. And, this is sort of my opportunity to do a sort of a virtual talk show with people that I really respect and admire in the roofing industry. And so I'm really hoping that you can also get, something out of it as well. I think I try to do things a little differently here, where we sort of a little more entertainment based. We're not necessarily going really hardcore into sales or business development. It's a little more trying to be a little more entertainment and educational. Today was pretty awesome though, because I think for my final thought, I think it's important to know where your heart is, and kind of really do some soul searching and figure out, like, where is your heart, where is your passion, and I know with some of our guests today, with Randy especially, I know his heart is in serving others and helping people, and that's been sort of the basis of the Roofing Academy, and helping these contractors who are often struggling with getting the systems and processes, to make it so they don't have to work 80 hours a week, and I know, London is their thing with, with Daily in Black, like having this sort of like ideal of, they figured out where their heart is in justice, and providing, people who are, less advantaged with resources to gain that justice, and I think it's important to, find out what that is, and then just keep following it, and follow it relentlessly, even, regardless of where it takes you, because you really have to have faith when you kind of find that and you start going for it, because you won't know that this is the right thing to do until later, and later the dots start to get connected. So I just want to encourage everybody to, do some soul searching, find where your heart is, and then go after it, as much as you possibly can, relentlessly. So that's my final thought for the day. I appreciate everybody coming on today. Logan, Jack Hanks with Velocity Public Adjusting. I'm super excited about his company. London Crowns with Daily in Black, and Randy Brothers with the Roofing Academy. If you need any kind of services such as legal, public adjusting, or training, please reach out to these guys. These guys really, do have that heart where it needs to be. And also, if you need, some video production, or any digital marketing, reach out to us, over at the Media Lab. So we'll be happy to take care of you. That's going to do it for today, and we will see you all next time.